voters know Joe Biden. They remember President Obama, and he helped save the auto industry while the Republicans wanted to let it die. I want to get RNC Trump campaign response to that.
Well, Joe Biden has had 47 years to deliver for Michigan, and he never did, and he certainly won't start now. And President Trump had a very clear message in 2016. He talked about making America great again, and a core part of that message was about trade and manufacturing jobs. People remember the Obama-Biden years, and there wasn't hope and change. In fact, there was a net loss of 500,000 manufacturing jobs under 2 terms. And Barack Obama said, those jobs just aren't going to come back. You'd need a magic wand. Well, you didn't need a magic wand. You needed a president who would actually deliver on the promises they made. So you look like a deal like NAFTA, one of the worst deals ever signed. President Trump has been talking about this for years. Joe Biden voted for that deal. Well, President Trump got to Washington. He renegotiated it. Now we have USMCA. A state like Michigan is going to benefit so much with that just going into effect in recent months. $36 billion worth of exports to Mexico and Canada already. Michigan is one of the leading states exporters. There's going to be a huge windfall in the future because of that trade deal, and that means better jobs and higher pay and core manufacturing returning to the United States. President Trump's a real deal. He delivers on his promises, and he's going to continue in this V-shaped recovery to deliver real results for all Americans.
And I'm sure you know by now, but the Bob Woodward store and whatnot. And I don't know if ABC is going to have time to turn around Kayleigh McEnany sound, so there's a response. So I did want to ask you in case we don't get that in the ABC package. But Bob Woodward released the story along with audio interviews today, the president telling him on February 7th regarding COVID-19, this is deadly stuff, possibly 5 times more deadly than the average flu or strenulant flu. He also said he wants to play it down as to not create panic. But on February 7th, he knew it was deadly. And then for weeks thereafter until early March, he was having massive rallies with thousands of people in indoor events when he knew it was a deadly virus. Why?
Well, he certainly acted. That's why he shut down travel on January 31st from China. Of course, he was trying to keep this virus out. That is why the president took early action, which, by the way, nobody in Washington, aside from this administration, was doing anything about it. Nancy Pelosi was handing out her impeachment pens. Adam Schiff was using the Intelligence Committee not to hold hearings on China and the deadly threat that they pose, no, but on aid to Ukraine that, by the way, Obama and Biden never delivered. President Trump did. So it's very clear here that the media, once again, is trying to rewrite history. When Americans remember, there was a lot of unknown information, but this president always took it seriously. That's why he acted very early. And by the way, the information was changing on a daily basis. At one point, Dr. Fauci said that this virus was 10 times more deadly than the flu. Well, we now know that's not the case. And a lot of information has come out. We've studied, we've learned. And we've adapted. And always throughout this pandemic, President Trump has made the right decisions for Americans, always instilling calm, because no matter what the challenge we face as Americans, it's always important not to panic, not to lose our heads, but make decisive actions, adapt, innovate, and thrive. And that is exactly what America will do.
Okay, one follow-up on that. You said the president has always made the right decisions for Americans. Again, on February 7th, he admitted this was a deadly virus and continued to have massive rallies. Were those massive rallies the right decisions for Americans?
You have to look at what the information we were getting at the time. He had already made the decision to shut off travel, so we were hoping that that would largely contain the virus. Absolutely, it was the right decision. Joe Biden, by the way, it took him 2 months to turn his story around and say, oh, well, I guess that wasn't racist to shut down travel. I would have done it 2 months later. Joe Biden opposed the European travel ban in March. Joe Biden was still holding rallies in March. We learned a lot, and to go back in hindsight and rewrite the script and say and act as if you have all the information when, by the way, the media is still not reporting all the accurate information. They're still acting as if it's too dangerous to go to school. And we know that's not the case. In fact, the CDC has reported there have been more suicides and overdose deaths among teenagers than from deaths from the coronavirus. So the media from the very outset, once they realized after Nancy Pelosi on February 24th said, come to Chinatown, we think it's safe, precautions have been made. Once they started rewriting the script sometime in March and saying, oh, maybe we can use a pandemic from communist China as a political weapon against our opponents, they've tried to rewrite the narrative a million times. Well, I recall the media saying, oh, this is no more deadly than the flu. Oh, it's the Wuhan coronavirus. Now you're not allowed to say that anymore. They keep rewriting the script because they don't have anything else and they're trying to use a pandemic from communist China against the president. It's wrong. The president's been consistent. He's always called for calm, but he's always made decisive moves, bold moves, even against what Dr. Fauci recommended in closing off travel early. And he did that to protect Americans.
Okay, so move on to my last question. Just to reiterate, you think it was the right move to still have those rallies in late February?
You have different information. You have different experts saying different things. You're taking one snippet of a conversation that the president had. Well, at many different times they were saying, the media was saying, all these other experts were saying, oh, it's not as contagious. Oh, it is this or that. So the information was changing on a daily basis. It was appropriate. And by the way, it's appropriate now that we're able to gather and let the American people decide. We're acting as if this is a vacuum and nobody still knows anything. Americans know what the risks are. We know who's most vulnerable. That's why from the very beginning, President Trump has consistently called to protect our most vulnerable, not send positive patients back into nursing homes like Governor Gretchen Whitmer did, like Governor Cuomo did, and several other Democratic governors. Those were certainly the wrong moves. And the president's been very consistent. If you're vulnerable, if you're in a vulnerable age bracket, if you have a underlying health condition, you have to take extra precautions. Americans are smart. They understand that. I wish the Democratic governors in these states would have taken the same advice.
Okay. Last question, I'll let you get out. As long as you still have time. If you're pressed, let me know.
Sure.
Okay. President has a couple of times now told people to vote twice, once by mail, once in person, to test voting systems. That is literally a felony to do so in some states. Why is he telling people to commit a felony?
That's not at all what he's saying. He is saying, he's raising the alarm bells about exactly what happened in Georgia. 1,000 people are being investigated right now for voting twice. And he's pointing out the very big danger of these Democrat voting schemes, of just sending unsolicited ballots, more and more excess ballots out when nobody ever requested them. Well, he's saying, well, if the system's so good, if your system is really prepared to overnight, just like that, change the way elections are held in this country when they don't have the systems in place, then certainly they should be able to catch that. But clearly they aren't. They are not prepared. And what we've seen in Fulton County, Georgia, where they had all of these people showing up, people that requested ballots that never received them, people trying to vote twice. That is not the way a first world country should conduct its elections. We have an absentee process. Unfortunately, Democrats in many of these battleground states are trying to change the rules in the 11th hour, trying to just mail ballots out even though they've never been requested. They're trying to allow ballot harvesting, which is illegal, to have third parties unauthorized picking up and delivering ballots. They're trying to allow ballots to be delivered and counted after Election Day. That makes a mockery of our elections, and President Trump has been raising this alarm bell because clearly, if you're sending out all of these mail-in ballots, millions more than we've ever tried in this country, you're going to have a situation where ballots go missing. You're going to have a situation where people show up and it's not detected. And that's what we're calling out here. We need to be careful and we need to protect the ballot security measures that are already on the books. There's an absentee process. We at the RNC are meeting Democrats in court to make sure that those safeguards stand. Signature verification, making sure ballots can't just be delivered after Election Day, making sure that ballot harvesting remains illegal. These are important things. Americans have to have confidence in our elections. And if you're sending all these excess ballots out, and then people are also trying to show up in person, that's the wrong thing in the system. We know after we saw what happened in New York City, we saw what happened in Paterson, New Jersey, we saw what happened in Clark County, Nevada. all of these areas that tried these Democrat voting plans overnight have ended in utter disaster and chaos. And Americans, we cannot allow that to happen on November 3rd, because we must have confidence that our outcomes are fair and free.
Okay, I'm going to be using this bit. I'm talking with the Michigan Secretary of State for a story tomorrow, so I'm going to be including that in it. So I'm going to have you in my show 2 days in a row.
Great.
One follow-up question, and remind me, because I do not remember, did not the president have someone pick up his ballot in Florida at Mar-a-Lago and then deliver it? Is that not exactly what happened with him?
There's a very different process. He followed the absentee process when he changed his residency from New York to Florida to have an absentee vote. That is a different thing what we're talking about. What ballot harvesting is, which many states, and again, you know, states are in charge of their own elections. They have different rules. Many states require or have a very narrow exemption to say you can authorize one person to carry your ballot, correct? That's not what Democrats are talking about. They're talking about paid, unknown individuals, Democrat operatives going door to door, picking up as many ballots as they want and then delivering them. That's what they have in California. And that is literally what 4 people were indicted for in Paterson, New Jersey. They had unauthorized possession of other individuals' ballots.
I believe
it's authorized when you have exemptions for the elderly and disabled, but only one family member can possess your ballot.
I think that's also what happened, I think, in North Carolina, where they actually had to redo an entire election because someone with the Republican Party, with the Republican campaign, was doing that, if I'm not mistaken.
There was a ballot harvesting issue in North Carolina, and we oppose this at all levels.
The state party did
areas.
come out very hard against that. Yeah, they did.
Absolutely.
All right,
ballot harvesting is not the way a first world nation should conduct its elections.